Hi, I'm Jeff Hoyt, Editor-in-Chief of SeniorLiving.Org. According to a recent study of seniors, transportation is their most important issue next to health. Some see their ability to drive their own car as a symbol of their diminishing independence. And many keep cars that they really can't afford to drive. Attorney Eric Olsen, Executive Director and founder of the Helps nonprofit law firm, frequently works with seniors with unaffordable car payments. Helps is a charitable nonprofit law firm that helps seniors nationwide with financial problems. In this video, the lawyer will explain why seniors can easily stop paying for a car they can't afford, how to buy a car with cash, what other transportation options are available, and how his law firm can help you if you're struggling with debt. Because of social distancing, we'll be conducting the interview via Zoom. Hi, it's Jeff Hoyt, Editor-in-Chief of SeniorLiving.Org. And today I'm speaking with Eric Olsen. Eric is an attorney and is the founder of the Helps nonprofit law firm that helps seniors, veterans, and disabled people who are struggling with debt. Welcome, Eric.
Good to be here, Jeff.
Good to have you here. So Eric and I have talked a number of times about debts and how seniors are different than other people who have certain debts. And one of the things I want to talk about is transportation, getting around. Everybody needs to get somewhere.
Right.
But seniors, you could have somebody who's has a car payment and a job, and then they retire and they realize like the car payment is too high for their fixed income. So what should seniors do? What options do they have if they have a car payment that they can't really afford anymore?
Well, we see this problem happen all the time. And transportation is a big deal for seniors. I mean, they really want their car and they want to be able to have the independence to be able to get around. But maybe an example could be when you retire, your income goes down to $1,500 a month and you're paying rent of $500 or $600 and you got a car payment of $300 or $400. Well, all of a sudden that car payment is really, really expensive. And the time you pay insurance, and if you have a car payment, you're paying comprehensive and collision, it can really take a huge chunk out of your income and leave you very little money to live on. So I guess our message is that seniors don't necessarily need to keep making that huge car payment. They can let the car go back. And it may take a while for a person to grasp that. They don't have to make that decision immediately, but there's reasons why they can let the car go back while they'll be okay, why they will be just fine if they let a car go back that has a payment they can't afford.
And when you say let the car go back, you mean stop making the payments.
Stop making the payment and eventually it gets repossessed. They can certainly do that and they'll be okay.
So why would a senior be okay if they stop making payments and let the car go back?
Well, seniors need to realize that their income is protected. Federal law protects Social Security, pensions, veterans benefits, disability income. No one can take their income. It's safe. It's available for their needs. It doesn't need to be used to pay debt they can't afford to pay. So if a senior let a car go back and the car got repossessed, then what will happen is the lender will eventually sell the car, and normally there's going to be a difference. It's called a deficiency. Now, if a senior has a car payment where there's equity, they could sell the car and get the cash. But that's normally not the case. They're upside down on the car. But if the car goes back and they end up owing money, they're going to get what's called a deficiency notice, and which says how much money you owe after we sold the car. Well, the senior doesn't need to pay that. Their income is safe. There's means that they could stop the creditor from harassing them. Even if they got sued, the lender couldn't take their money from them. So they don't need to worry about any money they might owe on the car. In fact, the contract that they signed, there's provisions in there that say what happens if you miss a car payment. So they shouldn't feel guilty about that. The contract they signed had provisions in there that says, here's your rights, here's what happens if you don't make the car payment. So they can't their income can't be taken from them if they let the car go back. And then they have other options for transportation.
Before we move on to the other options, just to be clear, if I stop making my car payments, they'll repossess the car, but then they'll come to me and say, hey, you still owe us $1,000 because we couldn't sell it for as much as we wanted to because you didn't make your car payment. And they can sue me and even take the money out of my paycheck if need be. But with a senior, because their income's protected, they don't have to worry about having their Social Security or veterans benefits or most pensions are protected. So they can't have that taken away from them. That's the difference.
Exactly. So if you stop making that payment, and if the car payment insurance was, $500, that's $500 more than you have in your pocket to pay for medicine and food and basic needs.
And if a senior, instead of making a car payment, goes out and buys a car for $1,000 or $2,000, an older model, of course, not as luxe, but they wouldn't have the monthly insurance payments. Their insurance would be a lot lower because they don't have to have full comprehensive and collision insurance as they do when it's on a car payment, correct?
Exactly. I talk to seniors about this all the time, that, if they say, well, if I let the car go back, what am I going to do? And I say, well, you could consider buying a car, but a lot of seniors just can't, another car, but they can't afford a payment. And I say, you could consider buying a car for cash. Okay. Now, if you get on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace, like on Craigslist, you can type in owner only, runs good. And the amount of money that you're able to spend. And so I'll give you, if you had a car that was a lemon, that was a piece of garbage, Jeff, would you sell it to someone on Craigslist and say it runs good, or would you trade it into a dealer? How would you get rid of it?
I would trade it into a dealer or sell it to a car buying service.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, and that's exactly, you would not tell someone, hey, this car runs good, when you know it doesn't. And that's my experience with private party selling cars. But when you go to buy a used car from a dealer, what do they have plastered on the window? As is, right? The car's being sold as is. There's no guarantee. And of course, when you buy a car from private, there's no guarantee, but the person's going to tell you, hey, I've owned this car. It's pretty reliable. And you can generally rely on that. And so if you had a $500 car payment, it'd probably take a couple months before that car would be repossessed. And Carlin, they can't break the law to repossess the car. I mean, a person can put it in the garage. They can't force their way in the garage to pick up the car. I mean, usually you could hang on to a car for a couple months before a lender would get active about repossessing. And you could save up a little bit of money so you could buy a car for cash. Now, you're right. The advantage is you don't have a car payment. You don't have to pay collision or comprehensive. You only have to pay liability. So instead of paying $500 for a car payment insurance, you might be paying $75. And, you get an older model Honda or Toyota, 1999 or 2001 or something like that, have a lot of miles. That car is going to go on forever. I mean, the likelihood of you having a problem is not that great. And even if it did go kapooey in a year, so what? If your payments were going to be $500 a month, you just saved $4,000 or more.
What if a senior doesn't know about buying cars? I mean, they need to rely on friends or pay a mechanic to come with them, or what options do they have?
A friend, a son, daughter, or someone like that can help someone. People figure it out. I mean, they get it taken care of. But yeah, they could have a someone that they trust say, I want to look at this car. Would you go with me? I want to make sure this is something that makes sense for me.
Great. I've had luck driving a used car to a mechanic and having them look it over for me.
Yeah, you can do that.
And so there are some seniors I'd imagine would feel guilty who would just say, hey, I'm going to I can't afford this car anymore. I'm going to drive it into the dealer and give them the keys. But you're saying, hey, if you hang on to it and you're able to keep it in a garage or keep it from the repo man for a couple of months, that could save you enough to buy your new car.
Yeah, you're under no obligation to drive it into a dealer or anything like that. And a repossession place can't break the law to repossess a car. I'm not telling people to hang on and try to hide it forever or anything like that. The lender probably won't get active looking for the car until you're more than normally 60 days behind. They wouldn't be getting active for looking for a car. So, and then you could save the car up, save the money up in the interim. Now, you'd want to keep the car insured, that's for sure. If you drive a car uninsured, and your license can be suspended. So you want to keep insurance on it if you're going to drive it. Now, if you're not driving the car and you're going to park it and it's not going to be driven, then, and you want to let it go back sooner than later, then yeah, you can take the insurance off. The lender is going to be sent a notice that the insurance has expired, and that might speed them picking up the car. I tell people that all the time. Get it out of your, that's the one way to get out of your driveway faster.
Someone hasn't saved $1,000 in car payments, just doesn't have the $1,000 to buy a car, even a used car, for cash. What transportation options do those seniors have?
They could save up money over time, maybe use friends to get places. There's new webs, Uber. What's the other one? There's different transportation. Now there's more transportation options than ever before for people. For a lot of seniors, they don't drive a lot like they used to when they were younger. They're not driving to another state. A lot of them, all they're doing is the grocery store and doctor and back, and that's it. So they're paying $500 a month to drive to the grocery store and doctor when they don't need that expensive of a car to do that. Now, then I know sometimes they'll say, well, I need reliable transportation. Well, I agree you do, and we want to have reliable transportation. But I'm a firm believer that you can find reliable transportation for a lot less money and not have to make a car payment.
Right. And these days, I mean, like you said, there's Uber, there's Lyft, there's a bunch of different options
Yeah.
besides taxis. And some people may think it's a luxury to take a taxi to and from the grocery store, but it still could work out to be a heck of a lot cheaper than paying a car payment and all that insurance month in and month out. And then these days, you can also just have your groceries delivered, and you don't even have to worry about taking a trip.
That is exactly right. And, we probably, there'll be a day when all of us won't be able to drive, right? I mean, as we get age older, I talk to seniors all the time that, doctors are required to report if they think the person isn't able to drive, and they'll get a notice that their license is going to be suspended or not taken away because of some medical thing. And that happens. And so, there'll be a day when we can't drive, and that's not a happy day, but it will happen, but it's not the end of the world. And I should point out that, there are ways to get a license back if it's been suspended for medical reasons. Every state has a procedure for doing that. You have to take a test and be recertified that you can drive.
So summing up, if there's a car payment you can't afford to pay, then you should stop paying it.
You can make that choice. I'm not going to make it for someone. That's their choice, but they should always realize that they have that choice. Sometimes people call and they have a limited amount of income, and they have a big car payment and a house payment. And I'll say, well, you can't afford both. Something's got to give somewhere. What's more important to you? And most of the time it's the house. And I say, well, you can let the car go back, and if you do that, looks like you're going to have enough money to be okay. And there are transportation alternatives like we've talked about. And you don't have to worry about the old debt. You can be protected from the collectors. That's what HELPS does. And no one's going to be able to take your money from you. You're going to be fine.
And how does HELPS protect you from the debt?
So HELPS is a national nonprofit law firm. Under federal law, when a person is represented by an attorney, debt collectors can no longer call or send letters to that person anymore. And that's what we do. We represent seniors in all 50 states and disabled persons who have debt they can't afford to pay in order to stop debt collector harassment. Clients enroll with HELPS. They give us who they owe money to, their credit cards, a car they can't afford, that lender. We send what's called a cease and desist letter to that lender, and then or to the collector, and they can no longer send or call that person about that debt. And that's our main purpose. But our second function is we educate seniors how to maintain their financial independence. So that's why we're having this discussion, because a lot of seniors will be a lot happier and be able to succeed independently easier if they're not saddled with a huge car payment. So we want them to know that they don't have to keep making that car payment. If they got two car payments, they can let one go back and maybe keep the one.
Someone watching this may think, well, if I can't afford a car payment, how can I afford to have a law firm represent me year in and year out?
Helps. We're a 501c charity. We never turn anyone away that needs the help we provide. About 1 out of 4 of our clients get our help for free. An average client with helps might pay $20 a month for 12 months, and then $10 a month. And after 3 years, the payment goes down or it's eliminated. In other words, it's a minimal amount for our help, but the bottom line is we don't turn anyone away. Our goal is to protect seniors that have debt problems so they don't have to worry. And I guess the magic about helps is we represent people ongoing. It's not just one time. They're our client literally forever. So if they are worried or scared, they can call us on the phone. If the car goes back and they get a deficiency notice, they're going to give it to us. We're going to send a letter out. If they happen to get sued, and they probably won't, when the lender gets that letter that, hey, this person's income is protected, it's on Social Security, I think they're far less likely for a lender to choose to sue that person, because they're going to realize, oh, we're not going to get anything because their income's safe. But if they did get sued, they contact helps. We contact the attorney saying, hey, here's proof the income's protected. Don't bother these people. Don't take their bank account. And they can't. The person won't have to go to court. So, that's what we're here for, is to be there for seniors, so they have someone to call, an attorney to call if they have questions, so they don't have to worry, because they don't have to worry.
Great. Well, really appreciate your help. I think there's a lot here for seniors to think about.
Yeah, it's their decision, and they can change their mind if they want. They can try to make the car payment, but if they finally decide they can't afford it, they don't have to.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jeff.